From committing racist hate crimes to getting charged with attempted murder, let's talk about the dark side of Mark Wahlberg. Right off the bat, teenage Mark was completely out of control. Now, if it weren't for the internet, you'd think that the worst thing that the actor has ever done was Daddy's Home 2. But back when his parents split, young Mark went off the rails. When he was just 13 years old, the actor started to use drugs such as cocaine and would stay out all the time. Eventually, he also dropped out of school. While most teenagers his age were dealing with normal problems such as who to sit with at lunch, Mark was developing a serious addiction problem. Not only that, but the future Hollywood star then started to sell drugs and was also stealing cars all the time. According to his priest, the TED actor would drive by the church in stolen cars that he was barely big enough to operate. While talking to Forbes, Wahlberg even joked about the whole thing by saying that he was a pretty good daring thief.
But yeah, I stole quite a few cars in my day.
Well, didn't you steal the same guy's car a few?
I did. He was,
How many times did you steal his car?
Probably like 10 or 15. I mean, we'd drive around the neighborhood, he'd find it, or the cops would find it, bring it back, and I'd walk down the street.
Yeah, that's not something you want to admit to, Mark. Now, obviously, no one wants to be judged for what they did as a teenager. I mean, we all make mistakes. But Mark's past actions have been so unquestionably horrific, you can't help but wonder if he really does deserve a second chance. For instance, the Pain and Gain actor has been involved in some racist hate crimes. It turns out that Mark's crimes weren't just limited to stealing cars and selling drugs. The star was also acting violently with people, particularly with minorities. Back in 1986, the then 15-year-old actor and 3 of his friends repeatedly harassed and even attacked some young black children. According to the shocking report, Mark and his pals chased the children, yelled racial slurs at them, and even threw rocks at them. Luckily, the children managed to escape by entering a local Burger King before any of them could get seriously injured. But then the next day, one of the kids was on a school trip to the beach when Mark and his friends spotted him. Once again, they started to yell racial slurs and throw rocks at the kid and his friends. Reportedly, a bunch of children from both sides ended up getting injured during this. The attack was only stopped when the teacher called a nearby ambulance driver who chased Mark and co away from the kid. That's pretty messed up. Now, if this was shocking for you, then just hang on tight, because Wahlberg was also charged with attempted murder. Yep, you heard that right. In 1998, the actor was involved in another hate crime attack. Mark, who was allegedly high, ended up brutally attacking a Vietnamese man who was simply walking down the street. The actor hit the victim with a 5-foot wooden stick and yelled racial slurs at him. The man was hit with so much force that he ended up unconscious. Now, this wasn't the only hate crime Mark committed that day. While trying to escape from the police, the uncharted actor saw another Vietnamese man a few blocks away. The future Hollywood star placed an arm around the man's shoulder as a squad car passed. But as soon as the coast was clear, he punched the man in the eye, totally unprovoked. I mean, who in their right mind even does that? Following his arrest, Mark was charged with attempted murder, but was then convicted of assault instead. The 51-year-old ended up spending only 45 days behind bars, even though he was sentenced to 2 years. Moving on, the actor has even tried to get his criminal record wiped clean. When you first hear it, it doesn't sound that wrong, right? But let me tell you guys the actual reason the actor tried to do this. In 2014, Mark applied to have his assault convictions erased from his record. The actor in his application wrote that he realized his mistakes and the pain that he caused people, and has since tried to turn his life around.
The weight off my shoulders for thinking for 27 years that I caused this horrific injury, and knowing that it wasn't because of that incident, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that, I was reckless. And, unfortunately, if it was my own mother that was coming out of that store, in that drunk and drug state.
But according to The Hollywood Reporter, this wasn't the only reason. Because of his past behavior, Mark apparently worried that he would be denied a concessionaire's license. This would mean that the actor wouldn't be able to expand his Wahlburgers franchise. This made people realize that the actor was doing this for his personal gain. gain. One of the victims of Mark's racist attack made her thoughts on the actor's pardon request perfectly clear. She told Associated Press, "If you're a racist, you're always going to be a racist, and for him to want to erase it, I think it's just wrong." The public definitely agreed with her. This pardon request only ended up bringing more attention to his past arrests and making Mark look more like a bad guy. The actor ended up dropping his request in 2016 and even later on admitted that it was not a good move from his side. Now, remember the time the actor profited off of the Kevin Spacey scandal? It's almost impressive that Wahlberg managed to become the villain of a film production that co-starred Kevin Spacey. I mean, all he had to do was keep out of the way and do his work quietly. But that's not quite an easy task when you're Mark Wahlberg. After the allegations of sexual assault came out against Spacey, he was dropped from Ridley Scott's All the Money in the World.
Standing stone-faced and silent in court, the stakes are quite high for the 59-year-old actor, who is now charged with felony sexual assault, potentially facing up to 5 years in prison if convicted.
His scenes were then famously reshot in a month with Christopher Plummer in the role. Now, most of the actors in the film have agreed to do the reshoots for free, but Mark decided to cut himself a sweet deal. The actor was reportedly paid $1.5 million for the additional work. The revelation just made it seem like the actor was using the situation to fill up his pockets. That's not all, guys. Michelle Williams was paid just under $1,000 for her work on the reshoots. That's a huge difference. This news ended up highlighting the issue of the major pay gap between male and female actors in Hollywood. The backlash was intense, to say the least. In response, the actor then decided to donate all the reshoot money to the Time's Up Legal Defense Fund in Michelle's name. But the good gesture didn't make much of a difference because a lot of the damage had already been done.
They will do things to Paul that cannot be undone for any amount of money. We have to pay.
This simply isn't possible. My financial position has changed.
Really? I mean, 30 seconds ago you said it was a good day.
That's not all. The actor was called out for his hypocrisy during the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, Mark's shady past has resurfaced again in 2020 when the actor shared a picture of George Floyd on his Instagram. Wahlberg captioned the picture with the Black Lives Matter hashtag and told his followers that Floyd's death was heartbreaking to him. To no one's surprise, the 51-year-old was called out for his hypocrisy. It didn't take long for people to bring up his history of racially motivated crimes. I'm pretty sure the actor learned that day that the internet never forgets. The public then started to point out that the actor had a full section on his wiki page called Hate Crimes, so he should be the last one to talk about this issue. But then, the strangest thing happened. The section was retitled Racial Incidents and then Legal Issues. People are pretty convinced that the actor edited his Wikipedia page or asked someone else to do it, just to downplay his past and minimize the backlash he gets on a daily basis. I mean, the timing was kind of suspicious. One thing was clear, the people certainly don't want Mark as an ally. Well, there you have it. That was the dark truth about Mark Wahlberg.